And a good Monday morning, Birds fans. This is Birds 365 with Mac and Mac, John McMullen, Jody McDonald. Good to see Johnny Mac made it out of the D.C. traffic and back here to the Delaware Valley without issue, as did the Philadelphia Eagles with a win, although at times it was pretty damn scary on Halloween weekend. Yeah, some people actually like scary movies. My daughter does. She watches them all the time. When a new one's come out, you got to go see it.
I like a good scary movie. I'm with her.
You do?
I do, but I don't get scared, so it's not really scary to me. I think it's more
right. It's not having the effect it's supposed to on John McMullen, and more power to you. I'll take a good scary movie every once in a while, but I'm not going to throw myself in front of the TV or the screen or the theater, whatever the first time comes up. Man, Eagles can put a scare into you. At the end of the day, yeah, they get the scary monster, they get the scary villain, whatever, but at 7-1, you got to like the results. Man, they can make you sit on the edge of your seat all day, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, at times. I mean, other times they're dominant. I mean, that's what I take out.
More scary than dominant this year. Come on, 8 games. Well, they haven't had too many walks in the park.
I mean, there's a lot of games I kind of gauge it by, do I feel they have a chance to lose the game? Do you ever get that feeling?
All right. So, let's go to yesterday. Did you feel they had a chance to lose that game yesterday?
Not really. When they scored, I'll tell you, when they're down 14-3, that's their largest deficit. And I was starting to say, well, maybe it's not their day. That was at the point where, and then they immediately scored to make it 14. And I'm like, all right, they're gonna outlast this team. They're gonna press. They're gonna do what they usually do. They have, issues at times, but ultimately they wear these teams down. That's what I think happened yesterday. So 14-3, kind of. But once they made it 14-10, I'm like, Washington's not going to be able to stand up. Now, they did a better job than I thought they would, and they held up for longer than I thought they would. And I thought Eric Bieniemy had a tremendous, tremendous game plan. Tremendous, number one. I think he deserves a lot of credit. Ball comes out of his hands quickly. Eagles didn't adjust, all that kind of stuff. And hopefully they get back, and because if other teams try to copy that, they're going to have some issues. But the Eagles are generally pretty good at adjusting. Yeah. And I give Sam Howell credit. Had a tremendous game. Bounce back game. As I said, I give Eric Bieniemy a ton of credit. Thought that was a great game plan. But that Eagles offense, I give them a ton of credit as well. Jalen Hurts obviously can't move as well as typically, so the run game was off the table a little bit. He threw the ball 15 times to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. The ball never hit the ground. 15 for 15. So people go back and forth. To me, that's the strength of this team. They can beat you anyway. They have to. And you get the weeks where they run the football like early in the season. Oh, Jalen can't throw it. Jalen, you're going to have to throw it at some point. You hear it all the time. Now, where's the running game? Where's the running game? They just do what they have to do to win a particular game. And as we saw around the rest of the league, and really you can only, if you want to be, if you want to go micro instead of macro, look at the Eagles. 1 week, they're shutting down the best offense in football. And the next week, they can't deal with Sam Howell and company. This is a week-to-week league, and people adjust, and they over-adjust, and they do things for you specifically. And whether it's San Francisco having this little tough streak or Kansas City losing, talk about Patrick Mahomes and the flu all you want, they lost the football game. The Eagles lost 1 game to Jody's Jets. And how did they lose that game? Let's be honest. They shot themselves in the foot. They should have won the game. They beat themselves. Now, a lot of teams say that. The Eagles can say that and be truthful because they were -4, and they still would have won the game, by the way, at -3 if they just would have punted. So there was a bunch of stuff that happened, and they did legitimately beat themselves. They find ways to win games. They find ways to win games, and that's the most impressive aspect of this team to me, because other people can't do that.
Right. 7-1 and 7-1. There's only
yeah.
one 7-1 team in the NFL, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Plain and simple. We started top. We here on Bird 365 and everywhere else, microman. Yeah, we get into the weeds. We break down the slightest little stat and or part of the team we can. And then you got to take the step back and take the 2,000-foot look, and they're 7-1, and that's the most important stat of them all. W's and L's at the end of the day rule over everything else, and there's only one 7-1 team in the league, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. And you got to give them credit for that. They find, as you say, they find ways to win. Doesn't mean we can't say, where did the best defense, where did the best unit in football? We've continually harped on this and given credit to our buddy from NFL.com who said the best unit in football, if you're just looking at units, is the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. Coming into the game, I know one idiot host who set the over-under on 7.5 last.
I warned you on that one, Jody. I didn't think it would be as bad as it was. But
remember you going, I think the Eagles are only going to get one, and they're not going to get it till late in the fourth quarter. Now, a key play by Hassan Reddick, give him credit for it, but nobody saw that coming. Are you kidding me?
No, I didn't. I didn't see
times coming into the game. Had his time to pick and choose back there. Yeah, I know he got rid of the ball fast on most plays, but talk about guys being wide open. Oh my God. The Eagles defense was terrible for the great majority of that game yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd get one, but I was pretty consistent that I was going under with that number because for the exact reason. No, Eric Bieniemy's going to overcorrect. I said it on the show. They know coming in, they're not a good pass protection team, and they're facing the best or one of the best rushes in football. And they were going to overcorrect. And that's how everybody plays the Eagles. And that's why their sack numbers don't meet their pressure numbers. Anybody, and I say this all the time with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, and this is what I say about sacks. Anybody can stop sacks. If you really want to, you can stop sacks because you can just get the football out on time and throw it no matter what and throw it away and do 75 different things. And that's why smart quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, if you have a 3-sack game against those guys in their prime, you were doing something. You were making an accomplishment. I got no issue with the defensive front other than, Jordan Davis was banged up coming in. Jalen Carter got hurt. So they had some issues from a perspective of those guys weren't out there as much as they typically are, and they weren't as effective as they typically are. And you got to look, Jalen Carter's getting an MRI this morning. That's a big one because if he's going to miss some time, they're not the same when it's funny to say about a rookie, but they're not the same when he's not on the field. But Jody, the back seven was just stinking atrocious. I mean, atrocious in pass coverage. That was the issue. And Seth and I go back and forth about this all the time. I don't like the scheme. I say it a million times. I could scream it into the microphone a million times. And everybody, you got to press, you got to press, you got to force it. They don't do that. That's not what the scheme is designed to do. So when you hit that week, and you saw it all the time with Jonathan Gannon, and people hated it. Well, now you saw it with Sean Desai. And people are getting the football out, quick throws. And if you don't make the tackle, if you're not doing your job on the back end, and Kevin Byard's first game was not good. That was the worst game Reed Blankenship played all year. It'll be a race by the interception, but he did not play well.
Right.
Sidney Brown did some nice things. That's kind of Sidney. He'll pop and you'll see his athleticism. Then he'll make a bunch of mistakes, and that's why he's had trouble getting on the field. Eli Ricks, typical.
Well, let's get to the two big guys.
Yeah,
the supposed all-pro level corners who also got beaten badly yesterday.
Yeah, Slay and Bradbury. Slay hasn't been having a typical Slay season, to be honest. Bradbury, not as good as last year. He had a great year last year. Yeah, I think James has been solid. He had the big play on fourth down. Should have been a pick six. But yeah, I don't think they've been playing as well. But the major issues and the linebackers, other than Zach Cunningham, who made a couple plays because of his length in coverage, and he's sneaky that way because he's so long. My boy, the middle of that field. Kevin Byard better get up to speed quickly, and I don't know how quickly he can get up to speed, but it was not good. He played the entire game. I expected that. Good for him, but he was not good. Reed was not good, as I said. The slot corners were not good. The linebackers were not good outside Zach Cunningham. And when you're getting the ball out quickly and you're disciplined, and they were, and I think at one point, Sam Howell was 20 of 21, Jody. 20 of 21. And he finished,
was the incomplete a drop by Terry McLaurin? Because he dropped a couple yesterday.
He dropped too late, and that's the thing. Terry McLaurin usually kills them.
Yeah.
And he dropped back to back. It would have been a third down conversion. He kind of slipped. And he dropped that one that he typically catches. And then fourth down, but it wasn't a great throw by any stretch of the imagination. But he got both his hands on it, and he admitted he should have caught it. Yeah, the Eagles got lucky, and that was on a drive to tie the game. So, and if Terry converts, they would have been deep in Eagles territory. So who knows what happens from there. So they got a bit of a break. But, at the end of the first half, he was 24 of 26, Jody. 24 of 26 in the first half, Sam Howell. And Sam deserved it. Sam played really well. He really did. And he's Ed Kratz probably going to spike the football because he's been the biggest Sam. When you look at some of the other young quarterbacks in this league, I'm not saying he's going to be a star, but I like him better than a lot of young quarterbacks in this league. He seems to have a good feel for what he's trying to do. Now he's got to figure out the pass protection, because I guarantee you, who's Washington? I haven't even looked at the schedule. I don't know who's Washington has coming up. But that's how coaches are. They're not going to protect him the way they did against Philadelphia. They were doing it on purpose because it was Philadelphia. Now, and that's why I say it's a week-to-week league. So they're not going to play the same way. The Eagles aren't going to play the same way against Dallas. Dallas isn't going to play the same way against the Eagles. It really is a week-to-week league. So, this is all we can talk about it. We're going to talk about it all week, and then we'll talk about Dallas. But, you can't take too much. The best extreme of them all, Jody, is they completely shut down the best offense in football 7 days ago from this game. Best offensive football by far. One of the best offenses in history, at least for that span. The Miami Dolphins, almost 37 points a game, almost 500 yards a game. They gave up 244 yards and 10 points. And then the next week, they're playing the Washington Commanders and Sam Howell, and he's on pace to be sacked more than any other quarterback, and they give up 397 yards passing. They can't get to him. It really is a week-to-week league. And if that doesn't prove it, I don't know what does.
You and I see it a lot alike. The only difference is the defensive line helps the secondary helps the defensive line. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? If you get good coverage, it gives the defensive line a little bit more time to get to the quarterback. If you get great pressure, it gives the defensive backfield that much an easier job to do because they don't have to cover as long. It sounds to me like you're giving the defensive line a pass and putting it all on the secondary. I think it was a shared thing yesterday. They just didn't get in Sam. It wasn't like Sam Howell made every pass in 1.9 seconds. He got it out for the most part. He got the ball out pretty damn quickly, but it wasn't every single play. And the defensive line did not get a sack till Hassan Reddick made a play very late in the game. It came at a key time. Thank you very much, Hassan. He saved his plays for the end of the game. He always seems to get them at the end of the game when the game is getting close. And good on you. That's a nice trait to have. But they did not. Sweat did nothing. Fletcher Cox did nothing. Don't know how hurt Jalen Carter was, but he did nothing.
I'm going to be interested to see the PFF grades, but I think people should be giving Fletcher his flowers today for the mere reason that he played the freaking entire game almost, because again, Jordan Davis couldn't go to his typical level. Jalen Carter couldn't go to his typical level. And these are the young guys. These are the guys, this is the time of his career where Fletcher's supposed to be scaling it back, and they need him, and he shows up and he plays. And I thought he played well. I'm not giving him a pass, but I will say this. When, as I mentioned in the first half, 24 of 26 for Sam Howell. In the second half, when the Eagles finally got a little bit of lead, or it was a tie game that was going back and forth, he finished 39 of 52. So when he did have to take a little bit more time, he had more issues. I mean, nobody in the world can, keep up 20.
Now, why did he have to take a little bit more time?
He had to take a little bit more time because the Washington was behind, and they had to get, look at the McLaurin plays. He's got to convert there. He can't throw a bubble screen there. He can't throw a quick and hope somebody breaks a tackle and gets 8 yards and converts a burst. You got to take your time, step back, throw the football. And he was pressured. He was a little bit more uncomfortable. I'm not saying it was great, but I'm saying if you want to rate the chicken and the egg argument, and you're right, it's cover. JG used to say all the time, it's cover and rush, rush and cover. If you want to say who was better, the defensive front was stinking better than the back seven. Now that's a low bar, but that's not even close.
But I think it's more like 60-40. You're making it sound like it's 90-10. The defensive backfield was worse.
It was. Yeah,
but
I'm saying 75-25.
Okay,
that was 60, a pitiful.
And by the way, Sam Howell was only trailing 2 touchdowns when there was a minute left in the game. Which, by the way, he went down the field and stuck it in the end zone in about 50 seconds to get it back to a touchdown and then do an onside kick. So at what point was he? Oh my God, I got to throw the ball downfield because we're so far behind. They were only down by touchdown.
Yeah, that was a great throw, but that was kind of garbage time throw. The Eagles, Swift had taken it in; they were up 2 touchdowns. I mean, at that point, the game's over to me at that point. Now they got the onside kick, and look, it was a bad performance by the defense as a whole. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. But if I'm going to grade, who the biggest problem was. It was the stinking middle of the field. It was Reed Blankenship. It was Kevin Byard. It was the slot corners, Sidney Brown and Eli Ricks. And it was those linebackers who couldn't cover a thing. I give a little bit of a pass to Zach Cunningham, who did a few nice things. But that was the issue. And yeah, and I think Howie's going to be on the phone today.
I'll take with a more broad brush stroke and tell you the entire defense stunk. If you want to break it down group by group by group, the secondary was the worst. They were absolutely the worst. The defensive line, you come into the game and he's been sacked 40 times in 8 games, and you get 1 sack. I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, how is Eric Bieniemy? Go break down every Washington.
Did Eric Bieniemy just become a genius this week, and was he an idiot for the first 7 weeks?
He put together a great game plan for this week. I'm saying go ahead. Anybody can look at every Washington game. So he was
an idiot for the first 7 weeks is what you're telling me. He couldn't figure out
why.
They can't get pressure on. They continue to get pressure on.
This is what drives me crazy. You don't play the same way against every team. Can we agree on that?
I surely agree.
So why does how Eric Bieniemy played against a team he doesn't think has a good pass rush have any relevancy to how he played the game today when it was clear when it was clear his entire game plan was built on getting the football out of Sam Howell's hands as quickly as possible. He's not an idiot. He's a very good coach, and he had a very good game plan. Now, who do they play next week? I guarantee he has a different game plan. I guarantee he doesn't do that again because he doesn't have to. Now, should he do it more? Should he do it more because of how they've struggled? Yeah, probably. And that's probably a fair criticism of Washington.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
That's a fair criticism of Washington, but it doesn't change the fact that they don't typically play the way they even played the Eagles. They didn't play that way in the first game, and they were very successful in the first game as well. But they didn't play that way to that ludicrous degree. That was unbelievable.
Which, by the way, John, and I know you don't have these numbers handy. I surely don't have these numbers handy. I really know what the breakdown was. We're making it sound like Sam Howell released the ball 1.8 seconds after every single snap. That he did this unbelievable job of one step and throwing. I'll go so far as to tell you I don't think there's that big a difference between how quickly he got rid of the ball in game 1 against the Eagles and how quickly he got rid of the ball yesterday.
Well, in the second half, it became lesser of that, but right away, right off the bat, when the Eagles were struggling and were down 14-3, it was bang, bang, bang. That ball was out, and yeah, the secondary. And not even the entire secondary, that middle of the field and the linebackers. I don't want to give them a pass. Yeah, they weren't good.
I'd like to see the numbers on how quickly the ball actually came out of his hands. Again, the secondary
was debating the ball didn't come out quickly.
We're debating on whether it was the sole reason to the effect that you're giving the defensive line a pass for not getting to him at all.
I'm not giving him a pass, but if you're getting the ball out that quickly, and again, I use the best examples of this are Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. They never got sacked a lot, ever. I don't care if it were you could time travel and get the Purple People Eaters and the Steel Curtain and the Fearsome Foursome, any defensive line you want, the greatest defensive lines in the history of the game. We're not going to sack Tom Brady a lot or Peyton Manning a lot. They are not, because you can prevent, if you're a quarterback, you can prevent the pass rush if you want to, if that's your desire, because you have the football, you're in control. And guys like Brady and Manning, because they're the two best, that's why I use them. And I'm not comparing Sam Howell.
Yeah, you are. That's what I was going to say.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that's the example, but you want to erase the example. You
put it out there. I didn't erase anything. You compared Sam Howell to Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Comparing the ability to get the football out of your hands quickly, limiting a pass rush. If you're Carson Wentz, everybody looks at last year's game at Washington when they got 9 sacks. Carson holds on to the freaking football. There are certain quarterbacks that allow you to have big sack games. Certain quarterbacks do not. Sam Howell yesterday, and it's more has to do with Eric Bieniemy's game plan, was not going to allow you to have a lot of sacks. That's all I'm saying.
Well, then another guy we got to call on the carpet here, and we got to get to Jeff Curry in a second, is Sean Desai and the whole defensive philosophy. Is there no in-game adjustments? Is there no ability to go, oh, spit, they're getting the ball out in 1.8 seconds. You were making Sam Howell look like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Why don't we push up our defensive backs a little bit? Why don't we check somebody at the line? Nope, it's our philosophy, and we have to stick with our philosophy and give them openings to start the pass route every single time. At some point, don't you have to adjust, John?
All I get from fans all the time, because they think I like Gannon. I get it from Seth all the time. I get it from you a lot of the time. Oh, Sean Desai's great at adjustments. Oh, Jonathan Gannon was bad.
He was last week against Miami. I saw nothing yesterday. So it's like you said, the thing that you said right more than anything else so far is it's a week-to-week league, and it does change every friggin' week. And Sean Desai didn't change diddly squat yesterday.
Or did Miami have a poor freaking game plan and they have a bad week? The Eagles defense doesn't change. I don't like the scheme. I don't like it. I say it a million times. It is what it is. It doesn't change. There are no grandiose adjustments when they're successful versus when they're not successful. They play the same damn Fangio scheme. There's no grandiose adjustments. There's no halftime tweaks other than they're having some oranges and taking a pee. They succeed when they execute, and they fail when they don't execute. That's what this scheme is about. It's about simplifying things. It's about playing fast, and it's about communication on the back end. And yes, getting home with the pass rush. You know, when teams like they did yesterday, when they take away one part of it with their game plan, you know, Seth's big thing is, well, you got to bring up and press. They don't practice that. They don't practice that. So you're not going to change what you do. And Jeff Kerr's a Penn State guy. We got to get to Jeff Kerr. I'll bring it up. I always bring up James Franklin. 4th and 5 game against Ohio State. Always bring that up because people lost their minds. They ran an RPO. They wanted them to run because the game was on the line. They wanted them to run some kind of Bill Walsh masterpiece, West Coast crossing pattern that they never practiced, Jody. That's the point that people don't understand. You don't just pull something out of your ass when things aren't going well. You do what you do, and you hopefully execute better leverage, better technique. And the middle of the field was a freaking disaster yesterday. A freaking disaster.
No question about that. Thank God for the offense and A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, because they very easily could have lost that game
15 for
yesterday.
15, A.J. and Devontae. 15 for 15.
Unbelievable on the offensive side of the ball. All right, Mac and Mac guys here. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports joins us next. Thanks for your patience, Jeff. He's up next here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game